How are you all doing? And thank you so much for being here to the India's biggest diversity and inclusive conference. It really means a lot. And I've been sitting here since morning, and it's really amazing to see all the folks with so much energy. And thanks for Vineet for introducing Anisha that. So I think without any delay, I think we'll just kickstart the session. So thank you, Anisha, for being here and taking the time and making it to the event. It really means a lot. So I think we can start with the conversation in terms of how LLL has been driving the entire mental health initiative in India and across the globe. And can you share some of the recent works and also some of your self-care hack? And how do you manage and how do you do what you do best? Yeah, sure.
Great, sorry, that's a lot of questions, so I'll try and tackle them one at a time to begin with. Firstly, thank you for having me here. For those of you who are not aware, I run a mental health non-profit organization. It's called the Live, Love, Laugh Foundation. I know it's a little bit of a tongue twister, but once you get used to it, it's actually more of an emotion. So the foundation actually was set up in 2015. Our founder, Anisha Padukone, actually experienced mental illness at that time. She was at the peak of her career. And she wanted to be able to use her platform and the reach that she has to make a difference. So the foundation is actually a vehicle or a channel to be able to actually talk about a topic that nobody was talking about. And this is one of the reasons why sort of I'm sitting here in such a large audience and talking about a topic like this. So that's really why the foundation was started. Coming to your question on what we do, we've been around for about 8 years. So of course a lot of work has gone into it, but just to summarize it into 3 key areas. Number one is, and we like to call these the 3 A's. So the number one is awareness on mental health, which is severely lacking. It's gotten better, but we definitely have a long way to go. Awareness and destigmatization of the topic also sort of go hand in hand. The second is accessibility to mental health resources, as well as credible information, because today we've reached a stage where there's a lot of information out there on mental health, mental well-being, but how much of it is actually credible? Is that coming from experts or are people calling themselves experts? So that becomes a very critical aspect. And then the third part is affordability, not just in rural India, but also in urban India. Mental health care is quite expensive. And therefore, it's important to also look at it from the lens of affordability. So just, in a couple of minutes, that's literally what we do. We have a range of programs and activities that we undertake, but all of them fall within these 3 buckets.
Beautiful. The 3 A's of Anisha, I mean, that's brilliantly put. You're talking about the awareness, so let's turn the conversation towards the crowd and figure out, I think by now everyone's aware of mental health being the important drive for the organization. Let's turn to the corporate crowd here and ask, I would please raise your hands, like how many of you know someone or you have personally suffered from mental health challenges? Oh, that's a lot. Okay, second, how many of you actively seek initiative to promote this in your organization? Please raise your hands. That's a little less. Okay, and also raise your hands if you have a support system in your organization which recognizes mental health challenges and promote it. Oh, that's good. Okay, so Anisha, would you like to add something like what should change in the corporate environment and how mental health challenges can impact the business and drive
Sure, I think before I answer that, there was a recent survey by McKinsey Health Institute, which is the non-profit arm of McKinsey. And this was done across 15 countries across the world, including India. No surprises for guessing that India had the highest rate of burnout at 38%, which was higher than even countries like China. I think it just, for me, that stat stands out because it gives a very clear indication or picture of some of the challenges that lie within corporate mental health. For us as an NGO, anywhere you look, any sector requires help, requires support. And this is definitely one of those sort of areas. So there's definitely a lot that needs to be done. It starts at an individual level, at a group level, and we can get further on into the conversation with that. But yes, absolutely, something that needs, I would say, urgent and immediate attention.
Got it. That's really nice. I remember Vidya during her keynote also mentioned the same thing, which was very relevant to this conversation that is happening. How Genpact had the support system, and she was talking about a person who had a hearing problem, and how she overcame that, and now she's leading the Microsoft that initiative of advocating mental health practices. So which is really good. I would really want to know that person and talk about this. I think this has to be spoken again and again, and I think it's really important to have that system, and that's where the collaboration happens with organizations such as yours. So yeah, moving on to that, how many of you have tried ChatGPT here for addressing your personal challenges? It can be any problem. Okay, that's very little. Okay. So yeah, so Anisha, so what is happening here is, since we are leading the entire AI conversation here in India and globally, we are seeing this new shift of a lot of these conversational chatbot which are very powerful, such as ChatGPT, and there are so many of them. So what do you think is the role of tech in mental health, and how can it really address? What is your take on that? Yeah.
I'll have to be very careful what I say. I know, I'm aware that I'm in a room full of experts here. I think, in my personal opinion, there's a lot that we can gain from technology, and there's also a lot that we need to be really cautious about when it comes to mental health. And I know that's the cliched answer, but it's also just the honest answer. So, in terms of what we can learn and how it can benefit. I think firstly, things like helplines or chatbots, when developed the right way, clinically tested, and when it runs a certain way, we've realized that it provides a sense of confidentiality, and in a country where stigma for mental health is very high, sometimes the usage of those platforms as opposed to face-to-face interaction sometimes gets higher. Just to give you an example, during the pandemic, our own website, which lists 15 mental health helplines that are in existence across the country, as well as about 250 to 300 mental health professionals that you can get help from. At that point of time, given that everyone was obviously isolated and working from home, and there was just a lot going on, the number of views on that helpline page, which provides that confidentiality that I'm talking about, increased by 1,400%. So that just gives you an understanding of the need and requirement of mental health services post-COVID, but also the fact that the confidentiality that helplines provide sometimes makes it easier. It's also affordable because all of these helplines are free of cost. So I think it tackles a bunch of different things. And then, of course, you mentioned a lot of platforms where, I think there's a couple of companies, Visa, et cetera, that provide tech-enabled mental health solutions. I know there are a lot of startups, not just in India, but also in the West, trying to solve for mental health problems. So like I said, I think where technology is concerned, you've got to be very, very careful and cautious in the way that you construct it. Get the right clinicians and experts on board. Trial it and test it out, and then ensure that it's sort of functioning smoothly, because I think the liabilities can be very high, and the scope for mistakes is also very small, but can lead to very sort of large mistakes that can be catastrophic. On the flip side, the same technology that we're talking about is sometimes also the reason why all of us sometimes end up being in a condition that we shouldn't be in. So trying to find a balance when it comes to personal usage of technology, and of course I'm referring to the amount of, say, time we spend on our devices or even our kids, etc., is a large part of the reason why mental illness is increasing, especially in, it's of course one-off, but especially in the adolescent and younger age group. So therefore it's a boon, it's also a bane. It's important to understand when to use it, how to use it to your advantage. But in the true sense, I'm a bit of a traditional. I prefer sometimes face-to-face interaction for things like this. So whenever there is a need for a therapy session, I always prefer it to be in person, like this, so that there's a certain kind of an exchange that happens.
So nothing like human connection, right? Like that's good. So further, I think there's a very interesting video. I think there's Dubaro Pucho, a campaign which you ran. I think I would ask the team to play the video here, which is really impactful, and it talks about addressing the actual elephant in the room, like in terms of, yeah, can we go ahead with that? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think just to give you sort of a one minute introduction, this was actually India's first, so we launched it in 2016 at a time when mental health was really not being talked about. It was India's first ever nationwide public awareness campaign on mental health. We're talking about 2016. We've had campaigns before this on polio, AIDS awareness, all kinds of topics. Just the fact that we had never had a nationwide campaign itself tells you about the kind of stigma that existed. Once we released it, it did extremely well. But the reason we've actually sort of chosen for this to be played here today is because there's a certain concept that the video tries to inculcate, which I'll come to afterwards, which is extremely applicable in companies and corporates to begin with, but of course also for all of us as individuals.
Yeah, I think we can dim the light and play the video, please. Yeah.
Chirag.
Hey.
Hi.
Morning.
Breakfast, is it?
Sissy. Fresh.
Very good. Very good.
I'm gonna stop throwing these parties, I swear. Super boring for me. Huh? Somebody likes Thai, somebody doesn't like Indian. I'm like, it's endless, really. How's it going with you? It's good. Going good.
Love this bhai. मन नहीं करता है ऑफिस जाने का, seriously.
Look, I know you're not fine. I know something's bothering you, okay? You can talk
I'm
to
fine.
me.
You okay, no?
Yeah, Mata, there's something going on.
कुछ भी नहीं, ऐसा तो कुछ भी नहीं. गाड़ी क्यों रोक रहा है?
Divya? Yeah? What are you not telling me? Nothing? What is it? Tomboys. Like, manly girls. You're not a manly girl. Really?
क्या चल रहा है अंदर?
मुझे दिख रहा है?
You can talk to me, Chirag.
Are you okay?
बता दे. बताने से दिल हल्का होता है.
Talk to me. There's nothing to talk about. Can't talk about this anymore. What's going on? What's going on? What's up? What's up? It's not good. What's up? What's up? What's going on?
डिप्रेशन दबे पांव आकर बैठ जाता है हमारे अंदर, चुपचाप अंधेरे किसी कोने में. चलो उसे जाने, पहचाने. हल्की सी भी कोई नजर छुपाए तो देखें दोबारा, थोड़ा सा भी कोई डगमगाए तो थामे दोबारा, जरा सा भी कुछ सही न लगे तो पूछें दोबारा. log on to the livelovelaughfoundation.org. परवाह है तो दोबारा पूछो.
Wow, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I mean, this is really amazing how you're changing the world. Leaving the world in a better place. This video is an example of that. I'm sure now, I just want to know from the audience, how many of you will, take the initiative to talk about mental health within their organization? Can I see the hands up now? Because it's, wow, almost everyone. Beautiful. So yeah, so would you like to say anything, a few words? Yeah.
I think my job here is done. That in itself was... No, but I think, on a serious note, the thought process behind this was how can we as a culture, as a society, just become a little bit more concerned about the person next to us. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a family member or a close friend. Which is why I said this is extremely applicable. I know that, I try to practice this at our organization as one of the cultures, is it empathy or concern for one another. Because oftentimes someone who's going through mental illness may not have the understanding or the courage or, all of those things to actually reach out and seek help and support, which is where someone else can, lend a helping hand. So that's really the ethos behind it. And yeah, I think just the fact that so many of you raised your hands is good for us and tells me that the video is doing its job.
So I think Leave Love Laughs, I think accessible for everyone in this room and beyond as well. So anyone suffering from any mental challenges, don't feel like talking to anyone, please reach out to Anisha and her team. They're beautiful, doing amazing work, and they prove that, even mental health is inclusive, irrespective of being it's corporate or anything else, right? So that is the whole message here. Mental health is inclusive and diverse across the spectrum, across industry, and corporate is just one spectrum, I believe. So you do rural programs and there different stories are there. What is one personal story that you feel like, has changed your perspective about what you're doing and what is the purpose? Final message, yeah.
Gosh, we have a rural mental health program. We work with people in urban India as well. We come across people through our work, through the foundation on a regular basis. A lot of places that I go to, people come up to me, strangers come up to me and say thank you for, the work that all of you are doing. I know that happens with a lot of the team members as well. So I think, but I think one sort of, just at the top of my head, there's a story from a rural program beneficiary of ours in Davangere, where he actually had a bike accident which led to severe brain injury, and that also caused mental illness. He was in a condition where, of course, he couldn't sort of function, but the symptoms were extreme in his cases where, he had become violent. The neighbors were sort of unhappy that he was behaving violently. He would throw stones. I think probably even, thoughts of self-harm, etc. So I think around that time is where our intervention in rural Davangere started, and we identified him. So without sort of getting into the details, we provide the 3 A's that I talked about. We provide awareness to the community, to the individual, to their caregivers. Caregivers form a very, very important part of the work that we do. We've provided access. So earlier in Davangere, access to medication, to treatment, to doctors was not available. People had to say, conjure up some money and then go to the nearest big town. So that is now made available in this location. So he got access to treatment and care. He got access to counseling support. All of this free of cost, with the help of the local administration under the district mental health program. And over a 7-year period, what we've been able to do in Davangere as a model, as sort of the first location, is we've made it completely self-sustainable. And when I say that, I'm talking about training the village, training, say, community health workers like ASHA workers, training the government, as well as this gentleman and his mother, to form parent champion groups. So in fact, now the mother is helping other parents in the village. He himself has been given some training in livelihood. He earns a livelihood for himself. We also connected him to the various government schemes, including pension, disability pension, where he was earning, even during his illness, was earning a certain amount of money to support his family. And that kind of confidence that you get really helps. So it's one of those transformational stories through the rural program. But like I said, there's all kinds of stories out there, but this is just one that I remember at the top of my head.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think, thank you so much for doing what you're doing right now. It's really meaningful. I think that empathy is a powerful, word, and even I practice on a day-to-day basis, and even veganism is part of that. I'm not promoting here today, but it's about even animals as well. So that's what, even Vineet is a vegan. You're doing a human job, like even I sympathize with animals as well. So every life matters in the end. So that's wonderful. I think the floor is open for questions on this message. So we can pass the mic, please.
Guys, I have the mic, sorry. I'll try to make this quick. Anisha, absolutely inspiring the kind of work you're doing. I am a mental health practitioner and a coach, and I think there's a lot of work in this field. My question to you is, what are the challenges you're facing in making things happen? Where can people who are like-minded, who want to support and contribute to your vision, add in, and how can they help you?
Sorry, if I heard that clearly, you're saying what are the challenges and how can people help?
That's right. What are the challenges you've faced so far?
So from an organizational perspective, I think it's common for a lot of NGOs to face this, but I was just telling someone yesterday that everywhere you look, because of the scale of this problem, because of just the vastness. So in 2017, this is even pre-pandemic, there was a Lancet Journal of Psychiatry study that said 200 million Indians suffer from mental illness. Just let that number sink in. So that's why I'm saying the scale of the problem is so vast. It's almost literally, just to put that into perspective, almost one person for every table that's in this room, right? So I think 1 in 7, if I'm not mistaken. So the vastness of this problem, it sort of exists everywhere. So for us as an organization, it's very difficult to sort of focus our energies on areas that really require our intervention and support, which is not to say that there are areas that don't, but understanding our strengths where we can really make a difference. I think that's something that we find sort of challenging. Pre-COVID, of course, funding was extremely challenging. It's gotten a little bit better post-COVID now with, say, even corporates understanding that this is an area that requires funding and support. So CSR also now, a little bit more focuses on mental health, but that also becomes a challenge. In terms of help and support, Live, Love, Laugh is just one organization doing work in this space. There are so many others out there. So I guess trying to find an organization that you resonate with is important. And there are different ways in which you can participate. But primarily for Live, Love, Laugh, as of now, we don't have an active volunteering program. Having said that, I think the best way for anybody to be involved is to become a little bit more aware about this topic. Through my own personal experience, I thought I knew enough about mental health until it actually came to my doorstep and I realized I knew nothing. And then that feeling of helplessness of not being able to, be a good caregiver causes a lot of other things. So being aware and prepared is one for a caregiver sort of a perspective. But secondly, also taking care of your own mental health, which falls under, say, the preventive aspects. It's similar to how we go to a gym or we work out and we exercise to take care of our physical health. How many of us actually do anything on a regular basis to take care of our mental health, right? So it's something that we can sort of slowly start to inculcate and build in. And there's no one size that fits all. It's really trying to identify what works for you and trying to do that on a regular basis so that the mind-body connect that a lot of experts really talk about is something that you're taking care of.
I think one more question.
I had a question.
Yeah, one sec. I think she asked to put the vision as well. She asked to put the vision for the foundation. Like, do you have any number, sort of like anticipation? Like, how do you solve this? What are the strategies? Like,
So like I said in the beginning, I think there are a lot of challenges. Mental health, it's important to understand it's not just a physiological or a biological problem. It's a socio-cultural problem as well, which often doesn't get highlighted. So there's just so much to look at and so much to do. But we've identified these 3 A's, awareness, accessibility, and affordability, to be, as of now, sort of the 3 most important challenges that India is facing. But in addition to this, of course, there's also, say, capacity building of mental health care professionals, which is a really, really big challenge. So like I said, scale of the problem versus demand and supply. I mean, how many professionals are actually there, and therefore, how do you actually solve for this? This is where maybe technology can come in and help. So that's really...
Hi, can I go?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see me? Yeah. Hi, Anisha. Thank you for that. It was a very insightful session. I'm Harshika. I'm a psychologist as well. And as a practicing psychologist, one of the trends I've noticed even with myself, because despite being a psychologist, I have anxiety and depression as well. And I've been taking care of myself through therapy for the last 10 years. But one thing that I noticed recently when I had to make my mental health plan was the lack of availability of emergency contacts, right? Where you're talking about empowering and training communities and friends and family to help. We have come to a stage wherein we have to ask, hi, are you available for me? I need to speak. How can we tackle that in the event that there is a crisis and we do not have enough emergency contacts beyond family?
So our website, the livelovelovefoundation.org, like I mentioned, lists 15 helpline numbers, out of which some of them are also very critical emergency numbers. So even, say, suicide prevention numbers. So if you call those specifically, in an absolutely critical case, they are trained to be able to handle those situations. Outside of that, there are also other helplines. These helplines are completely free of cost. They are available, some of them, different timings, some of them 24/7. They're also available in various languages. So if somebody's not comfortable in English or in Hindi, regional languages are also covered. So that is, it's a sort of an exhaustive database. When we started the foundation, there was just one helpline that we listed, because that was really what was out there. We have 15 now, so I would think that that's a good way to sort of, reach out to emergency contact numbers.
And any alternate ways?
Sorry?
Any other alternate ways?
I don't know if you're sort of you're taking...
So because see, of course I do give the helpline numbers where available, but then in the event that the helpline numbers aren't available, right? Is there a way we can train the society or like say close personal people to be available, like in a way that they take care of themselves as well as be available to take care of
Absolutely. There are a lot of different types of training out there. I think to begin with, listening skills is a course that any layperson can do. In fact, I've been thinking about doing it myself. I'm not a trained mental health professional. I just run a foundation. But it's important for all of us to be good listeners. And when I say good listeners, I'm not talking about, say, listening to a friend's conversations, but actually trained, it's called listening skills. So it's a training course in listening skills that is the base level of what every one of us can do. And beyond that, there are a lot of other types of courses depending on the field of psychology, and you're from the field, so you would know. So there's no harm in trying to pursue that as long as you're keen and interested in it. There are also gatekeeper training. There's something called a gatekeeper training course. So in your own companies, for example, there are organizations that can come in and train employees, senior leaders, anyone that you need in gatekeeper training, especially in some of these critical situations that involve suicide prevention.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we are out of time. So, I mean, thank you, Anisha, for doing God's work there. It's really amazing what you're doing, and I wish all the best for you and your team. Transform life, one life at a time. Thank you so much. It was really a privilege talking to you, and thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Anisha.